Hello and welcome to the Vinyl Sanctuary. My name is Christian and I hope that you will join me in taking refuge in records. So I'm absolutely delighted to be here today recording this video, which is kicking off my new album ranking series, where I'm going to be delving into my own personal vinyl collection to look at my favourite albums that were released in the 1970s. So we're here today with 1970 and I'm going to be working all the way through to 1979. So for anybody who's new to the channel, I've done the same thing with the 1980s, which was a whole lot of fun, thoroughly enjoyed it, but now we're here for the 70s. So the only difference that I wanted to highlight before I get cracking today is that with my 1980s series, I ranked 25 albums per year because I've got a lot of records in my collection from that particular decade. I don't have as many for the 1970s in my collection, but I do have enough to be able to show 15 for each year. And certainly towards the later part of the 70s, 78, 79, for instance, I've got like well over 40, 50 albums that came out in each of those years. So narrowing them down to 15 is going to be a whole lot of fun, but I'm nowhere near at that point yet. That'll be several weeks away from now. The focus today is on 1970. So this was fun too. I enjoyed ranking them and I'm looking forward to getting started and talking about them. So the only other thing to mention, again, it's more for people who are new to the channel really, is that I only show records that I physically own on vinyl. So if I don't have it on vinyl, then it isn't eligible for inclusion. That's kind of the only caveat I put on myself with doing these album ranking videos. I want to be able to show things off that I own rather than talking about, a myriad of wonderful albums that I just don't happen to have. So that is my only condition. I need to own it. So if there's any here that I don't show off, just contact me in the comments. Most people do, and I will explain whether I do own it. And I just didn't see it worthy for me personally of being in my top 15, or it may be that I don't own it at all. I may have never have heard of it. So it's a brilliant way for me to keep expanding my own musical knowledge. And I've been so grateful to all the people who have contacted me during the 1980s series with brilliant recommendations for me. There's a few bands there that I've gone on to discover that I'd never heard of before. And there was a good number of albums that I'd heard many, many moons ago, which I had the chance to reacquaint myself with. I'm hoping that the 1970s will be no different. I'm actually anticipating, to be fair, that I will have a lot to learn about this decade from all you people out there. There will be so many people out there that can teach me about the decade in more detail, and no doubt have a lot of fascinating insights and information about some of these bands and artists that I'm going to talk about that I don't have that particular knowledge about. So please do let me know in the comments what you think of what I showed today, and if there's anything else that you want to add to what I talk about. Okay, so I have ranked these then from 15 up to 1. Looking forward to getting started, and yeah, here's to a new series. So I hope you enjoy it, and thank you in advance for being here. Really appreciate it. Okay, so starting us off today, we are going to be looking at a group that were formed in California, and California is actually going to feature quite a bit in this particular video. There's quite a few acts here that I've picked from a top 15 that were formed in California, but we're starting off today with this lovely album, Deja Vu, by Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. And as you can see there from the title as well, we've got Dallas Taylor and Greg Reeves listed here as well. Okay, so that's Deja Vu. Great front cover there to get us started today. So this is my number 15. Just a plain black back. And yet again, for people who are new to the channel, so what I typically do is I will show you the front and back cover. In this case here, it's a gatefold. So whenever we have a gatefold, I will always show you the gatefold as well, like so. And then if any of the inserts or if there's any inners that are of interest, then I'll show them to you as well. And then I pick a few favourite tracks from each album. Any information that I happen to have that comes to mind at the top of my head, I'll share that. And then I move on to the next one. So you can see some brilliant photographs there of the group. Very, very distinctive one there, David Crosby. There we go. Okay, so yeah, this is a lovely album. Sunday afternoon listening for me. very gentle, consummate songwriters, obviously. We like, Stephen Stills, who'd been in Buffalo Springfield, with Neil Young as well. Then we've got, Graham Nash, who'd been in the Hollies, and then David Crosby with the Byrds. So, we have got exceptional songwriting on display. And then, we had Dallas Taylor there on percussion, and then we've got Gregory Reeves on bass. So he's credited as Greg here on the front, and then Gregory in the gatefold. Okay, so favourite tracks. Wow, this is such a great album. I love Our House. It'd have to be my favourite because it reminds me of childhood. It was used on an advert over here in the UK, and whenever I hear it now, it does take me back to that time. I must have only been pretty young when that advert came out. I think it might have been for like a building society or something like that, but I do recall it being played on UK television a fair bit through that advert. It was a popular one. I'm sure someone in the comments will be able to remind me of that. But yeah, great song. Almost cut my hair. Really like that one as well. Carry On, which opens the album off. So yeah, there's a few I've mentioned, but yeah, this is just really gentle, sort of folky, jingly jangly rock. I mean, it's the turn of the decade. We've just left the late 60s going into 1970. So I do feel there's a little bit of crossover from, that late sort of, that 60s period that all these artists had made the name in. But this was just a lovely way to kick off the decade for this particular collective here of Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. So lovely album, and I think a very nice way to get us started today. That's Deja Vu. Okay, let's pop that back in there as well before we move on. I like to keep everything in sequence. And yeah, I'm always fascinated when people share their own favourite albums with me as well from any given year or anything like that, because it's always fascinating just to see how we all enjoy our music, how we process it, which albums we gravitate to, and that's the power of music. Plus it's all subjective as well, so I do tend to find when I'm doing these rankings that sometimes it's so difficult. Well, it is difficult to do it. It's picking between favourites all the time, but what one can only do the best, so that's what I've tried to do. So I'll crack on and see how we get on at the end. Okay, so my next album I'm going to be showing you is another act from California. So I would describe this one as being art rock with a little bit of prog in there, a little bit of psychedelia as well. But you've got some consummate musicianship on here, especially with the guitar work of Randy California. And I am talking about Spirit. Look at that for a great front cover there. Look at that. Great image. And the album there is 12 Dreams of Dr. Sardonicus. So yeah, quite experimental, I would say. Trying to think, is it really acid rock? Maybe some elements there to it, but it's just got such a distinct vision to it. Very, very enjoyable record. One that I will play every now and again, I would say, but I've played it enough times to really have made a connection with it, hence it being where it is, certainly being in the top 15. Straight off the bat, Nature's Way is just a brilliant song. I would say that Nature's Way, along with Animal Zoo, which opens the album, are my two favourites, but Mr. Skin is very, very good as well. And then there's a track on here called Space Child, which I enjoy a great deal as well. So yeah, more great California music there in 1970 from Spirit. So if you're interested in that album, or you know more about it, or you want to share any information that's interesting about it, on top of what I've just said, then please do put that in the comments. But yeah, that's a really lovely album, that, and I do enjoy it. I'll probably end up going back to that one pretty soon, I would think. Although I did listen to these in prep for the video, that was one that I feel like I want to spend a bit more time with that at the moment. Again, such is music. Depending on mood and where we are, we can go to different things. Okay, so we're taking a break from California just for a moment, and we're heading over to the UK now. And yeah, got one of my absolute favourite ever artists here. And this chap will be popping up a fair bit in the 1970s, I can assure you of that. But he's made his appearance here now for the first time in 1970. And we've got David Bowie with The Man Who Sold the World. And as you can see, this is my copy with this particular front cover. It isn't the copy of Bowie reclining in his dress. I've not got that copy of it. If I was to ever see a copy of that in the wild, and I was able to afford it, and it was in good condition, etc., I would certainly purchase it. But this is the copy that I've got. So there we go. David Bowie, great photographs there on the front. I mean, I absolutely love that one of him there with that very impressive kick there. Can worthy, that one, isn't it? Very, very good indeed. Okay, so what a record. Produced by Tony Visconti, Bowie's longtime collaborator. Got Mick Ronson here on guitar, Mick Woodmansey drums, Ralph Mason the Moog synthesizer as well. Tony Visconti plays electric bass, piano, guitar, and then we've got Bowie himself on guitar and vocals. So, as obvious as it is, my favourite song on the album is The Man Who Sold the World, and I am very, very much of that era. I'm the right age for Nirvana and Unplugged in New York, and obviously when they very famously, iconically covered that song, that was, well, it wasn't really my first exposure to Bowie, because I grew up in a household that was devoted to Bowie, and I would say that the impact that he made on me was way, way before Nirvana. But I just think that because that cover during the MTV session was so iconic and so well done, I think it just really brought that song to life to me again when I was, just sort of in high school, and music there in those early years of high school was my life. I mean, it always has been my life, but especially when that Nirvana album dropped. So it is my favourite, but I do love the original version of it here by Bowie. That lovely big, thick, buzzy guitar on it. Great riff as well, isn't it, that one? So yeah, Man Who Sold the World is my favourite, but I love The Width of a Circle as well. It's a good opener. I've always enjoyed that one. Yeah, tough one to pick favourites off it. I really do enjoy this album. I'm wondering if we should have had it a little bit higher now. Yeah, well, The Man Who Sold the World, Width of a Circle, definitely two of my faves, and Running Gun Blues that opens up side two. I'm going to choose that one as well. But yeah, solid album all the way through, that one. And I'd be interested to know within Bowie's discography how highly people rate The Man Who Sold the World. But yeah, it's here for me, certainly in my top 15 for 1970. Right, okay. It's got a very interesting album to show you here. Well, I think all those have been interesting, to be fair, and I hope the rest of them are as well. But I do find this one particularly interesting. I'd say it's an album that I've not had as much time with as a great many of the others, which were in the top 15. But I've heard it enough times just to know that it really ticks a lot of my musical boxes, to be honest. There's just something so... It's really epic sounding, and I love the sound of it, the musicianship. I just find it really hypnotic when I put it on. But I still feel like I've got a lot more time with it, and I feel like I've got a lot more exploring to do with it. But for it to already be here above the likes of, Bowie and Spirit and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, which are albums that are much more cemented for me, I think it is a credit to this album. So we're going over to Germany now, and as you'll know from a title card, for anyone who's a fan of this band, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about now. So coming out of Munich, see if we can get it out of the sleeve here, we have got Amon Duul II with Yeti. So that has got to be one of the most famous album covers going now, that, hasn't it? I think, people have probably seen this cover and maybe aren't even aware of the album, but I do love that cover, and yeah, I'm really growing to love this album. I think if I'd have had more time with it, it could even have been higher up, but I think where it is now is probably fair. So for anybody wondering what on earth this is, if maybe you're not aware of it, I would say that it's, it is a pioneering record within the krautrock movement. As I said, they came out of Munich, Germany, but there's also space rock elements in here, psychedelic rock. There's some beautiful, I would say, even kind of folky passages on here as well. It is an epic record, goes in many, many different directions. Again, I love the sound of it. It's just got this wonderful feel to it as well. And yeah, I'm very, very happy to have a copy of it in the collection. So let's get a little bit more into it. Amon Duul II. So there is the gatefold. So let me see if I can show you this properly. We'll show you that way first, and then if I do it this way, there we go. See if we can get all that in. Wow, look at that. And this is something I think as well with the 1970s, that as much as the artwork in the 80s was terrific, I mean, some wonderful artwork in the 80s, there's going to be some really, really distinctive stuff going on here in the 1970s as well. So yeah, there's the cover for Yeti. Sorry, the insert inside of the gatefold for Yeti. Yeah, and there's the back as well. Okay, so these have all been playing in us so far as well. So there's not been any to show you on these parts here. Yeah, so picking favourites. So I would say this is an album that I do feel like you have to listen to it in its entirety. I will attempt to choose a few favourites, but I think you just need to experience the whole thing. It's 4 sides of vinyl, so it is an epic, as I've mentioned. Probably said that quite a few times now. Side 3 alone, which is Yeti improvisation, is 18 minutes. Takes up the whole side of 3. So okay, let's get to some favourites. So She Came Through the Chimney on side 1, I do love a lot. The opener is Soap Shop Rock, and it's kind of broken up into these little sort of vignettes, passages, if you wish to call them that. We've got here Burning Sister, Hallucination Guillotine there, yeah, Gulpe Sonata, and Flesh Coloured Anti-Aircraft Alarm. I really do like that part actually, which is part D. And then on side 2, I would say Archangel's Thunderbird, which kicks off side 2, and Cerberus as well are excellent. Eye Shaking King, yeah, some really good stuff on that. Yeah, just really strong throughout. Engineered by Willie Schmidt with a little help of Siegfried E. Locke. Got a lot of players on here. Got Dave Anderson, Folk Rogner, Chris Carra, John Weinziel, I believe that is, Peter Leopold, Schratt, Renata in there as well. Yeah, on bongos and vocals. Got tambourines on here, violins, 12-string guitars. Yeah, I think really, this is just an album that you do need to go and experience. So yeah, if you're into your space rock and that sort of stuff, please do check it out. I think I first became aware of Amon Duul II because Julian Colt is a huge fan of krautrock. I think he wrote a krautrock sampler, which is like seen as being like a really definitive guide to the genre. So I started reading about bands like Neu! And Faust and Amon Duul II because of Julian Colt, because I'm a huge fan of his. But I've got a long way to go within that genre, a long way. I'm fascinated by the genre. Owen Can, of course, as well. He's really into Can, Julian Colt. So I do have him to thank for piquing my initial interest in the genre. But in terms of acquiring vinyl, I'm always on the lookout now for those, what I would say are regarded as being classics within that sphere. And I would say that Yeti here by Amon Duul II is no exception. But yeah, please, if anybody's got any thoughts on this one, as I'm sure people out there who've had a lot longer with it than me, then please do share. I'd love to know. Okay, great stuff. Right, so after the experimentation there of Amon Duul II, we're going back to some classic songwriting of a different kind, because obviously what's on Yeti is classic of its type, but this is more conventional. So we're going back to California again, and we are here with the Byrds with their 1970 album Untitled. There we go. And I've always loved that front cover. I just think it's so clever how it's been done. And then we've got the back, and then if we open it out like that, you can just see there how they've pieced that together there, with seeing the spine there where the picture's crossing over. So good. And I just think that, when you get your album cover right, when you just pull something off that's so distinctive looking, it can really just be that initial gateway into wanting to, discover album. I mean, there's so many albums that I've bought just purely off the strength of the cover. I've bought albums and not even known how they're going to sound, but because the front cover or the artwork in some way has, drawn me in. Wow, that's some Cardigan there, isn't it? Wow, look at that. Some impressive work there with that Cardigan. But yeah, I mean, look how cool they are as well. And always great to see a picture there. Yeah, got a couple of cats there, hasn't he? Lovely. Okay. Yeah, I'm a huge cat fan, by the way. I love cats. Right. So yeah, Untitled, brilliant. The Byrds, very underrated, I think. So it's another four-sider. Got 2 records here. So with side 1 and 2, we get a concert, which is great. So we get some old Byrds classics there. Sides 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4 is a studio album. So you get a lot of bang for your buck with this one. So favourites, I'll choose a couple, both from the concert side and from the studio album side. I think that's only fair, really, to do that. So yeah, I mean, it's a brilliant set list for the concert. We've got the likes of 8 Miles High on here, which takes up all of side 2, which I think is rather appropriate to mention that one after we've just spoken about Amon Duul II, because 8 Miles High, I feel, is one of the, the ultimate sort of genre-defining statements of space rock and psychedelic rock. It was so ahead of its time, still sounds wonderful now, and has been just a gigantic influence on so many groups. But then you've got, the classic Jingle Jangle of Mr. Tambourine Man, Positively 4th Street. So there, you've got a couple of Dylan covers on there as well, which was usually the case with the Byrds. And So You Want to Be a Rock and Roll Star. I think that they are highlights of the concert section of this album, but you can't go wrong with the rest of it. Love of the Bayou, Nashville West as well, superb. And then side 3 and 4, I adore Chestnut Mare. It is one of my favourite ever Byrds songs. It's so pretty, a beautiful composition by Roger McGuinn. Love the singing on it, love everything about that song. It is truly, truly lovely. And Welcome Back Home finishes the album off. I've always enjoyed that one. And Yesterday's Train as well, I would say, from the studio album. But yeah, if you want to start off with a song in isolation from this one, because I do tend to do that every now and again as well and make a suggestion, then please do check out Chestnut Mare. Absolutely stunning. And then I would check out 8 Miles High from the concert version of this album. Yeah, there's an amazing drum part actually on that 8 Miles High version as well, which I love. Just goes on and on and on, and it's just so propulsive and hypnotic. Great stuff. Great album there from the Byrds with Untitled. Okay, so now we're switching over from the West Coast. We're going to the East Coast now with one of the coolest bands ever. Adore this album, adore this band. Superb. Great songwriting. Got Loaded by the Velvet Underground. 4th album in. Last album with Lou Reed. Yeah, she's playing again, that one. So you can see this one is a reissue. Yeah, the final album with Lou Reed. There you go. The hype sticker has just confirmed my little brain dump there that I had to get that information out. So yeah, glad I didn't go wrong. And yeah, features the classic tracks, and they are certainly the classic tracks on here. 2 of my favourites, Rock and Roll and Sweet Jane. So yeah, Sweet Jane is one of the coolest songs ever written. I would argue that point with anybody all day long. That riff kicks in and I just feel like I'm strutting down, a street in New York City. I really, really do. It's just the way that Lou Reed performs it, the singing, that it's quite glorious as well, the way that he sings Sweet Jane throughout. It just sounds so euphoric and open. Yeah, I think it's a song that demands a bit of a strut to it, or a bit of a swagger to your walk when that one's playing. Effortlessly cool. I love Sweet Jane, definitely my favourite on the album. Rock and Roll has to be mentioned as well because it is superb. So you've got this opening 3 tracks on here of Who Loves the Sun, which kicks us off, which is very Byrdsian. Lovely jingle jangle guitar playing on that one, but quite dark lyrics really when you kind of go underneath the surface, underneath all that prettiness. The lyrics, when you actually read them, are not very sunshiny. They're quite the opposite. But that was one of the most alluring and attractive things about the Velvet Underground was they always had this ability to marry very, very pretty melodies, very, very gorgeous arrangements with quite dark, quite cynical subject matter a lot of the time. And Who Loves the Sun's a great example of that. And it's sung by Doug Yule, that one. Cool It Down as well, I enjoy a lot, side one. And then side two, Oh Sweet Nothing, which finishes the album. Always love that one. And I Found a Reason is great as well. But yeah, it's a strong album, that one, Loaded. Not my favourite Velvet Underground album, but I love all those four albums with Lou Reed by the Velvets. They're superb. And yeah, you've got the lineup here, obviously, of Mo Tucker, Lou, Sterling Morrison, and Doug Yule as well. So yeah, great album for 1970, that one. Okay, so now we're going from New York, going over to New Jersey, and we're getting funky. And we have got here, you get it out the sleeve, got Funkadelic with Free Your Mind and Your Ass Will Follow. So let's just flip that open there. There we go, Funkadelic. What an album this is as well, as you can see from the from how shiny and new looking it is. It is a reissue, just like Loaded was. It's not an original from 1970. It was on Westbound Records this year. Here's the gatefold as well. There we go. Great shot there of the band. George Clinton there and company. Yeah, Funkadelic. So yeah, something to learn about me. I've not really had a chance to show much sort of funk music off really in the collection and on my channels to date. The videos, sorry, to date. My channels, I've not got loads of channels, I've only got the one. Videos to date is I really do love funk music. So I've got my love of Prince to thank for getting me into Funkadelic, because George Clinton was a hero of Prince, as he is so many other people. And yeah, I mean, Prince is my favourite artist of all time. So when I really started digging into what Prince was about, then Funkadelic was only really around the corner, and it wasn't an inevitable avenue that I was going to go on to explore. So I do have some Funkadelic albums in my collection. So it'll be interesting to see if any more of those make it into my 70s picks. Sure they will. We'll wait and see with that one, where they'll go. So yeah, favourite tracks, Free Your Mind and Your Ass Will Follow. I've got to have that as my favourite. Side one, opening track, 10 minutes long, utterly memorable. You've just got to hear it. It's brilliant. It really, really is. It's one of the greatest statements in funk music, in my opinion. And then side two as well opens up with Funky Dollar Bill. Really, really great one to sing along to. Songs are a little bit shorter in general on side two. We do have I Want to Know If It's Good to You, which is nearly 6 minutes long, but then some more is just under 3 minutes. Eulogy in Light is just over 3 minutes. Funky Dollar Bill is just over 3 minutes, but then on side one you do get the epic self-titled track. So yeah, if you're looking for some really superb funk music, the musicianship is absolutely incredible on this thing. But I mean, I would say that about all the Funkadelic, Parliament albums I've heard. Truly amazing stuff. So yeah, I'm really happy to have a copy of that. And it was definitely one that was very easy to include in my top 15 for 1970. There we go. Got that title track stuck in my head now. I need to try and get that out before I move on to the next one. Time's a ticking. Okay, right. So who've we got here now? Of course, yeah. Should know straight away from that back cover there. Yeah, Canada. Here we go. Neil Young. After the Gold Rush. I had to pause a minute then when I was looking at the cover. I thought, oh yeah, there we go. Yeah. Of course, it's After the Gold Rush. There we go. But sometimes when I'm flitting from country to country, artist to artist, genre to genre, I need to give myself a minute to catch up. Now, the photograph here in this gatefold is one of my favourite ever photographs of Neil Young. I just think it's superb. Just a really great rock photo, that. I just love it. It's such a good photograph, that. Really is. Just captures the artist there in a moment of contemplation, but there's enough of a pose about it as well, just to make it, really rock, really full on. It doesn't look sort of too forced or anything. It just kind of straddles that line between pose and just, almost like just a bit of a candid shot there as well of him. But yeah, brilliant photograph. Look at all those guitars as well. Wow. Surrounded by guitars. So yeah, Neil Young knows how to write a tune. He's already had an appearance with Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. So 1970 was quite the year for Neil Young. I mean, many years were quite the year for Neil Young with his music. But, 1970 he's involved in Deja Vu. And then he puts out this absolute cracker here in After the Gold Rush, which is one of my favourite Neil Young albums. So, right, favourites. I'm going to have to say Only Love Can Break Your Heart. I do have a real soft spot for that, just because I do love not only this original version, but the cover that was released many years later by Saint Etienne, which again is more of my time period. Great cover, but yeah, I love the original on here. Till the Morning Comes is on here as well. Southern Man. Don't Let It Bring You Down. Oh, wow, yeah. Don't Let It Bring You Down as well is on here, isn't it? Oh, self-titled track as well, Tell Me Why. Yeah. Oh gosh, what an album. That might be another one I should have maybe have put a bit higher as well. So difficult, isn't it? Really difficult. And yeah, great front cover as well, that. Yeah. What an album. What a great year 1970's turning out to be, eh? We all got spoiled, didn't we? And I would love to know as well if anyone's watching who was around, at that time, maybe going to gigs at this stage, buying these albums when they were coming out brand new. Please do share your thoughts and memories with me and our, fellow community members on the channel. I do always love to hear about these stories that people have with these records. But again, that's another one I would say, really nice for a Sunday afternoon. I'd probably pair it actually with Deja Vu, probably listen to the two back to back. So I've not done that before, but I probably will do at some point, just because of the vibe that's created there with those two albums. Okay, so how far are we now from getting into the top 5? Yeah, we're getting there. So we've got a couple of albums left to show you, and then I'll be into the top 5. Okay, so we are back in, California again. Yes, we are. Had to have a think there. And this band I love to bits. I mean, I love all these bands and artists, but this one in particular, I think the reason why I've got so much respect for them is just because of the journey that sound went on, that they were making. So started off, sort of quite hard rocky, bit bluesy in places as well, but then ended up, having this really exemplary power pop phase as well. Created some wonderful songs in the power pop genre, which is one of my favorite ever genres. But this is an earlier effort from the band, where it's a lot more rock and roll, a lot more blues, a lot more edge to it, and they do that stuff brilliantly well as well. But I've loved everything that I've heard by this group, so this definitely had to be up where it is for my 1970 top 15 picks, and it is the Flamin Groovies with Flamingo. And again, I just feel we've got another really great front cover there. So this was released on Kama Sutra, and I do think this is an original. I did pay quite a few quid for it, but you can see that it is a little bit beaten up, cover and stuff. But I do think it's at least an early-ish pressing. It might not be. Is it from 1970? Don't want to start wasting time too much looking at the label and trying to work it out, but I could find out from the catalogue number. Just need to check that out. But yeah, it's definitely not it's not like a brand new release or anything like that. So, but I'm very pleased to have it. So this is when Roy Loney here was still with the group singing, and yeah, this is, as I say, just great blues, great rock and roll music. So favourites on here, I mean, Gonna Rock Tonight, that kicks things off, sounds like it is, like it sounds, with just a great rocker to get us started. Heading for the Texas Border is one I've always enjoyed actually as well. Sweet Roll Me On Down is good. Yes, She's Fallen Apart, Childhood's End, Coming After Me. Yeah, just really superb rock, this one from California. So this is catching the groovies at that groovy stage of the career. And I just love the power of it. I love the feel of it. It's a record that gets my toes tapping, and it's good fun. It is. I enjoy that one a lot. So I wanted that one pretty high up for 1970. Flamingo by the Flamin Groovies. Okay. Oh yeah, Roadhouse. I should mention as well, that finishes off is a really good one as well. Good way to close the album off. Right. Okay, so next one here, and then we'll be in the top five. So number six, this is an artist who astonishes me, truly does. An amazing producer, incredible musician, songwriter, performer. He's worked on so many classic albums for other people, and he's released a number of classic albums himself. So this record here was recorded and released under the name Runt. That was the name of the project after this artist had fled the nest that he'd been in Nas, which were psychedelic rock legends. Had appeared on Nuggets with, a contribution there with on the Nuggets discography that Lenny Cade put together. He'd assembled that, to kind of put together these artifacts from the early mid-60s, late 60s as well era, to show the world these wonderful songs that have been created, in the kind of the garage rock sphere, 13th floor elevators, that sort of stuff. But yeah, this artist here, he then moved away from Nas, and he got more into singer-songwriter territory and influenced by the likes of Laura Nyro. And I am talking about Todd Rundgren with Runt. And there's Todd. So yeah, really good album, this one. Released on Bearsville. So yeah, I've got it as high as it has because I just think it's so enjoyable. And I am really in awe of Todd Rundgren. I just think he's such a fine artist. His way around a melody, and his production sensibilities, his the way that he can play so many instruments. And yeah, I just feel like if I'd have been around at that time, I think I would have. He's almost like, for me, like an earlier version of Prince, really. Just somebody who just does it all, compositions, arrangements, lyrics, music, choosing to collaborate, always choosing great musicians to work with, just this really, really great vision of what they want to achieve. Yeah, I've just got so much time for Todd Rundgren, and I'm not even close really to having all of his stuff really either, to be fair, but everything that I've got of his, I just absolutely love. Excuse me. So yeah, let's get on with Runt. So a lot to enjoy on here. It's an album that goes in many different places. It's not, I wouldn't say it's stylistically consistent. It sort of does branch out. It's quite experimental in its own way. We've got this absolutely beautiful a cappella sort of bit of studio trickery stuff going on with There Are No Words, which is on side B. Just beautiful use of Todd's voice, and he's layered it over, and yeah, very brief but very beautiful. I've always enjoyed the opener, Broke Down and Busted. That's a nice way to start the record off with this sort of very liquid kind of guitar line on it. We Gotta Get You a Woman was a big hit on this as well. Very memorable, great song. Then we get a little bit of rocking, injected into it with the likes of Devil's Bite, Who's That Man is good as well. And then we have, yeah, I'm in the Click is okay. That's on side B, track one. Not one of my favourites. It's okay, I don't mind it, but I was going to say that one of my favourite ever Todd songs is on here, which is Birthday Carol, which is absolutely beautiful. Great song that. And there's the back. Wizard there, Wizard of True Star, which will come a little bit later. But there you go. That's the artwork on the back. And then there's Todd again, obviously, as well. So love that album. Very, very fond of it. Very happy to have it in the collection. So that is Runt by Todd Rundgren. Okay, now we're in the top five. So we're back to the UK now. We're going over to South Wales, and we are going to be looking at a power pop classic here. A great band. Love them so much. We have got, open it up here from the start, another gatefold. Got Badfinger. There we go, with No Dice. There we go. Get that all in there. So that's the front cover of No Dice by Badfinger, and then gatefold. Been spoilt with the gatefolds here today, and we've got another great photograph there of Badfinger. It's got Mike Gibbons, Pete Ham, Tom Evans, and let's get him in. There he is, Joey Molland. There we go. Got them all in. Excellent group. So yeah, most power pop fans who are watching this will know about Badfinger, so I don't have to say too much about them in that regard. But yeah, on the Apple label, the likes of, patronage of, Paul McCartney had given them Come and Get It prior to this album coming out. Then they had Todd Rundgren, who have just spoken about, George Harrison, producing the next album after this one. So yeah, I mean, they had their admirers, did Badfinger, and they went on to write some absolute classics of rock, one of which is on this album here, and that is the original version of Without You, which, very famously went on to be covered by Harry Nilsson. And just out of interest, in case anybody is interested, Without You by Harry Nilsson is my all-time favourite cover by anyone ever. Absolutely adore that cover, incredible. Spine-tinglingly good, but the original here is very, very good as well. But I do love what Nilsson did with it. But yeah, you can hear that original here, and then it went on to be done by Mariah Carey many years later as well, had a blockbuster hit with it. But we also have on here the power pop greatness of No Matter What. Superb song, great crunchy guitar, brilliant arrangement, super catchy. I believe it did very well in the US, that one, No Matter What, as a single. Superb. So yeah, No Matter What and Without You are my two favourites on the album, but then Midnight Caller is one I've always enjoyed a lot as well. That's more piano led, that one. Pete Ham sounds beautiful on that with the vocals. Just a superb track, that one. I Can't Take It is a great rocker to get the album up and running. And then I'll choose a nice one off side 2 as well, which is Blodwyn, which is like a little bit more sort of folky, that one, a bit more acoustic led. But yeah, produced by Jeff Emerick. Just a truly superb album, that one, and easily getting in there to my top 5 for 1970. We've got No Dice by Badfinger. There we go. All back in, sorted out. Okay, so let me see, 4, 3. Yeah, these were really difficult to choose between these, but my number 3 is where it is because of nostalgia, and then the top 2 are just because they are, for me, they were runaway. Just classics, brilliant, but this number 4 isn't too bad, and I would imagine that quite a few people would have this even as number 1. So I'm fully prepared if people want to disagree with me on it, but I've got it for number 4, and I do love the album. I love all these albums, but they've got to go somewhere. Okay, so my number 4, staying in the UK, we're moving away from Wales. We've got Led Zeppelin 3. There we go. It is a lovely reissue, this one. So, remastered by Jimmy Page, and it's a replica of the original sleeve, which has got, that amazing sort of cutout effect there where you can spin it inside. There we go. Can move that there like that. Love that. Hours and hours of fun doing that. No, it's great fun. Always enjoyed that one. Let's put Jimmy back. Put Jimmy back where he should be there. There we go. Yeah. Great stuff. Led Zeppelin 3. Well, extraordinary album. It truly is. I mean, all of these now coming up. I mean, the others in the 15 aren't bad, are they? As I said, it's a very, very strong year. Very strong year indeed, 1970. So, yeah. Just got to say it straight away. Favourite song is Immigrant Song. One of the greatest side one-track ones ever. And I try not to think about School of Rock too much now whenever it's playing. Jack Black screaming it. But yeah, that's become a bit of a visual a visual sort of photo now in my mind, that whenever Immigrant Song comes on, sometimes I can't help but think of Jack Black in School of Rock singing that. But yeah, great song. One of Robert Plant's most primal vocals on it. It pounds along. It's just brilliant. It really is. Bonham and John Paul Jones just outstanding on that as well, along with Page's masterful riffing. Since I've Been Loving You is one of my favourites as well. I mean, these are all strong, but I have to pick some favourites. Tangerine on side 2 I do like as well. Hats Off to Roy Harper, which is a traditional arrangement as done by Led Zepp. Celebration Day as well. I mean, I've named more than 3 there, but that'll probably happen as we go through to these latter stages. But yeah, Led Zeppelin 3, great rock album. Not my favourite Led Zeppelin album, but it is definitely up there. I know a lot of people, though, that would have this as the favourite Led Zepp album, and I couldn't argue with that. It just isn't my favourite, that's all. But there is a nice mix of sounds on this one, which is why I do enjoy it a lot. Because I do enjoy albums that like to mix up things a bit. I think that might be why I'm getting as much into Frank Zappa as I am, because I mean, I've been into Frank Zappa for quite a number of years now, and there was a couple of his albums that I've got in my collection for 70, Burnt Weenie Sandwich and Chunga's Revenge, which I was umming and erring about putting into the top 7, into my top 15, but I couldn't put them above any that are in the 15 here, just because I do have more love and time with these other ones. But yeah, as I was saying, I think because I like albums that kind of go in different directions, that for a back cover as well, great photos there. I think I just admire that when artists like to branch out and do different things. Same with Funkadelic actually as well. I mean, I should say with Funkadelic that whilst there is, it is a masterful funk workout in places, there's elements of sort of psychedelic rock on there, space rock and other things as well. Just to say it's funk is not really doing it justice. So I wanted to put that out there for the Funkadelic album earlier as well. But yeah, Led Zeppelin, great stuff, that one. Thoroughly enjoy it, and that is my number 4 for 1970. Okay, so top 3. So number 3, this takes me back to where it all started in my musical journey, because I can't really remember the earliest years that I was into this group, this duo, but my family very much remember it, and have told me on many occasions throughout the years that I was utterly obsessed with this duo. I would watch their Live at Central Park video on repeat on VHS. I was born in 82, so the concert hadn't been out all that long at all. We had a VHS copy of it, which apparently I wore out, and I have grown and continued to love this this duo for all time. Love this album, love what they mean to me, and clearly those tunes back in the day must have connected with me and had me bopping up and down. And I was told by the family I'd be standing holding on to the sort of the TV cabinet where we had it, and I'd be bopping up and down like that, the knees going while these songs were playing. So yeah, great memories, and some nice stories for my family to be telling me about my love for these two. So yeah, number 3, of course, I'm talking about Simon and Garfunkel, and the album there is Bridge Over Troubled Water. There we go. I've always loved that photograph as well. I think it's really cool. Clearly having a little bit of fun there. Nice to see, because their relationship at times could be a little bit fraught. So there we go. Classic cover. Yeah, these albums here, by the way, the covers on them are among the greats for me. So yeah, where to start? Wow. What an album. I love every track on it. This is why it's number 3. Just because of the connection that I have with it on an emotional level. My favourite ever Simon and Garfunkel song is on this record, which is The Only Living Boy in New York. It's my all-time favourite song by the pair. But I also love Baby Driver. I love their version of Bye Bye Love. I love the title track. But I would also say that probably my second favourite ever song by Simon Garfunkel is The Boxer, which is on here as well. But yeah, I mean, every track. Yeah, Condor Passer, So Long, Frank Lloyd Wright. Cecilia's great, Keep the Customer Satisfied. Why Don't You Write Me? Yeah, it's just all killer, no filler, that one. It really is. It's just Paul Simon's songwriting on here, coupled with Garfunkel's beautiful voice, the voice of an angel. Just an absolutely iconic pairing that, duos like that, just they don't come around all that often. If it's, well, I mean, they do come around because obviously they've existed and done what they've done. But what I mean is when you get people like that coming together, you just have to admire it and just be thankful for it. Certainly in my opinion. So I'm not going to do that on here because it's one of those horrible, crinkly covers. I'll get that sorted later. So there's my number 3, Bridge Over Troubled Water. Okay, so yeah, we're at our top 2 now. Right, okay, top 2. We're rocking out. Are you ready to rock with these? Brilliant. Had a bit of rock before there with Led Zeppelin in the top 5. Took it down a notch with Simon and Garfunkel, and now we're raising it up to 11 again. Now we're going up to 11 with these 2. Okay, so number 2. I was delighted to pick this record up, this copy of it in Germany. I paid €2 for it. Couldn't believe it when I saw it. It was in like a clear out bin, and I was all over that. I don't think I've legged it as quickly across a record shop floor as I did on that day, because it was just there glowing at the front of this bargain bin box, and I thought, I'm getting over there before anyone else can get to it, because it had a big neon sign above it saying €2, and I thought, right, here we go, it's mine, I'm getting it and taking it home. So what album are you wondering? I will tell you, I will show you. It is Deep Purple in rock, my number 2 for 1970. Can't tell you how much I adore this album. And it's got my favourite Deep Purple lineup on it as well. Gillan, Blackmore, Lord, Glover and Pace. It's just absolutely, it's so good. Right down, from the Mount Rushmore art to the rock in it. Oh wow, what an album. Love it, love it, love it. It's really, really, really close between this and my number 1. But I am happy with the number 1 I've chosen, because my number 1 is outstandingly good, in my opinion, as well. Exceptionally good. But this, supposing everything but, the ranking, it's probably joint number 1, really, but I have to do one as number 2. So I just adore Deep Purple. They're my favourite hard rock band. As much as I love Led Zeppelin and a lot of these other great UK hard rock groups, I just love Deep Purple. They're my favourite. I love, love, love Richie Blackmore. A guitar hero of mine. Just everything about the way the guy plays, just his stage presence, just, Blackmore, he's just so good. But Gillan as well, amazing vocals. They're all superb, Pace on those drums, Lord on his organs and pianos, and then you got, Roger Glover on the bass as well. They're just such a fantastic group. Oh wow, where do we start with this? Right, Speed King, side 1, track 1. Side 1 alone, Speed King, Bloodsucker and Child in Time. I love all of those. I love how Child in Time sort of brings it all down a notch a bit in various passages of the song, and then it just, brings it right back up again. I love Lord's playing in particular on Child in Time. But the guitar work throughout by Blackmore is just unbelievably good. And then you've got that rhythm section of Pace and Glover. Flight of the Rat on side 2, Into the Fire, Living Wreck, Hard Loving Man. I've just named every track off it. I've had to, because it's just so good. Deep Purple in rock. What an outstandingly great album that is. Still sounds incredible now, and one I'll always come back to. So that's my number 2 for 1970. The best €2 I've ever spent. Actually, it's the joint best €2 I've ever spent, because there was another record that I got from Germany, and it wasn't from that bargain bin. It was actually on a flea market, but that's a story for another time. That came out in the early 90s, that album. But yeah, I've been very lucky in Germany with my €2, I have to say. So I picked up that, and then the other album that I may show at another time on the channel, yeah, did very well. So a fine pick for my second favourite in 1970. Okay, so what's my number 1? Right, well, I feel given just because I've just waxed lyrical so much there about Deep Purple. The reason why I think this one is my number 1, it's the energy of it, it's the power of it. The sequencing of the tracks are just awesome. It sounds incredible. The lyrics on it are superb. The ferocity of it, the way that it sounds given the year that it came out as well, because it's proto-punk, it ticks so many boxes about what I love in music. As much as Deep Purple and the others do as well. When I kind of took all these different things into consideration when I was doing the ranking, this one came out on top just because of the sheer, it's just the sheer excellence of it from beginning to end. And again, with these rankings, they are supposed to be a bit of fun as well, but they're also, we're talking the finest of margins. But I am comfortable and I'm happy in keeping it at number one because it is an exceptional album. Love it, love it, love it. We've got, from Michigan, Funhouse by the Stooges is my number one. I'm going to have to flip it all around so you can see all the different faces on there as well. Funhouse by the Stooges is my number one for 1970. What an album. It's upside down, that one. Look at that. It is truly, truly stunning. And if you've never heard it before, please check it out. Please do. This is, you can see here, is a reissue of it, released on Elektra. Let's get your gatefold here as well. Yeah, again, these are plain, aren't they? Yeah, they're just plain black, those. The Elektra logo there. But yeah, we've had some brilliant gatefolds here today. 1970, blimey, we really have. Some excellent band shots as well. There's another one. Look at that. How cool do they look there? Try and get it all in. There we go. My hands there with the microphones there. There we go. Yeah. Got the Ashton brothers here. Scott and Ron, Dave Alexander, and of course, the one, the only, Jimmy Osterberg. We've got Iggy Pop. Okay. What an album. So the version I've got here is a double. So we've got some extra tracks and stuff on here as well. Got some, takes of the likes of 1970, Funhouse, TVI, just various takes and that. But let's stick to the album, the original studio album. So down on the street. Wow. Please go and listen to that if you don't know Down on the Street. That's another one, a bit like Sweet Jane, where there's just a strut and a swagger and a sex appeal to it, and it's just so cool and just like really up for it. Just makes a statement straight away. It really does. And obviously Sweet Jane doesn't open up Loaded, but it does open, Down on the Street does open up Funhouse, and it just gets the party started. It's brilliant. Got TVI as well on here, which is just incredible. Love that track so much. Side 2, you got 1970, which is my favourite ever. One of my favourite ever Stooges songs, I should say. Not my favourite ever. That's on another album, which will definitely be making an appearance in my 1970s vid. But yeah, it's just so strong throughout. LA Blues as well. Dirt, Loose. It's a wonderful, wonderful album. Went on to influence so many bands that came up after it, in the punk sphere, all these hardcore groups that I can think of, that came up in the US in the late 1980s, groups that came years later, in the sort of the early 2000s, the likes of the White Stripes, for instance, influenced by the Stooges. Then you've got like all these brilliant space rock groups, the likes of Spacemen 3 were well into the Stooges, Primal Scream, and they've influenced shoegaze acts. They've influenced groups that don't even overly sound like the Stooges, but they've just taken like little ingredients here and there and just put them into their own melting pot. And I think that when you've got a band like that, somebody as magnetic as Iggy Pop as well, such a wonderful vocalist, great lyricist as well, never ever gets enough credit for his lyrics, in my opinion. Iggy Pop, he is a superb lyricist. And then the Ashton brothers there, Dave Alexander, backing him up with their musical contributions. It is just a magnificent album, that. So that did it extremely well to be able to fend off for me Deep Purple in rock, because that is a monolith of an album. But I just think in terms of my own respect for Funhouse and the amount of times I've gone back to it, and just because it's influenced so many groups and other artists that I love and admire, I just thought, yeah, it needs to be number one. So there we have it, everybody. So that is my first video in my new album ranking series, the 1970s. So I hope I've kicked off the decade in suitable style. I thoroughly enjoyed doing that, and it was interesting there doing 15 rather than 25. So I'm pretty sure that my album videos will be coming in a little bit shorter than the usual length. I mean, I'm sure it'll still be long enough because I just turn the camera on and talk, so I never know how long the time's going, but yeah, doing 15 was good fun. So I really enjoyed that. So if you stuck with me during the video and you're here and you enjoyed it, thank you very much indeed for doing that. I really appreciate it. And if you're new to my channel, then I hope that what I've done today is an introduction to my style, and that you enjoyed what I had to say and what I've had to show. So maybe if you are new and you enjoyed what I've done, if maybe you could consider giving the video a like, I would really appreciate that if you did. It helps to support the channel, and perhaps as well you would consider subscribing as well. So if you do subscribe, thank you for doing that, and please do remember to click the notification bell so that you will get alerts to let you know when I've got new videos landing. So yeah, I'm here for the ride now for the 1970s. So my 1971 vid, all going well, should be following very shortly. So I'm going to start getting prepared for that one. More incredible albums to show from 1971. I'll have to start thinking about how they're going to get ranked. There'll be another 15 to show. But until then, look after yourselves, everybody. Thank you very much again, and bye for now.